Hi. Okay, thank you, Kay, and colleagues. Hi, everyone. So this is right before our closing. So basically, final session, and we have a great guest here from Culture Cartel, Mr. Jeremy Tan. Thank you for coming.
Hello, thanks for having us. Yeah, glad to be part of your closing act.
It's great to have you. We are excited about to know about the Culture Cartel.
Yeah.
And discuss about the street culture and sport, how we can collaborate each other. So
Yes.
first of all, I think you have a short video. So let me show this one.
Yes, please.
Yes, hold on a sec. That's really cool video.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. So also you have slides. So do you want to start explain about Culture Cartel?
Sure.
Okay.
So basically, it's a street culture event that covers all the different aspects of street culture, be it toys, tattoos, streetwear, sports, skating, you name it, we try to include it in. Bikes, cars, design, art, music, everything, all under one. So this is the second year that we did it. Because when we were looking worldwide, there was nobody actually doing everything all at once. It could be because nobody thought about it, or it could be because everybody wanted to be focused. But Culture Cartel, what we believe is that we can always cross-pollinate the different subcultures together. So we like to push the boundaries and then try to get the masses more interested in different forms of arts, different forms of street culture, and even for sports, which last year we had one of the stalls promoting snowboarding. And you know, Singapore is like hot, right? So the possibility of snowboarding, unless you are introduced to it by your friends, if not general public, you would rarely take that up as a sport. Because in order to travel up, whether it did to Japan or to Europe, the likelihood of that will be quite intimidating, and you will not be as keen in it. So we wanted to push the boundaries, and we wanted to introduce more things to everybody. And just by visiting us during the event, you can actually understand more and see it for yourself. So even like tattoos, tattoos is quite scary. If you are a person without tattoo, usually you will not even go into the studio or mix with them because it's always a stereotyping. But because of we putting it in a convention and we making it open, so the guys that's interested in toys might be interested in the tattoos, and the guys that is interested in the tattoos might be interested in the toys. So there's a lot of cross pollination, and we sort of enjoy that quite a fair bit. And I think that's the essence where Culture Cartel is. And in fact, today when we talking about the topic about sports and street culture. Again, this is what we want to do, and thank you for having us here so that we can actually discuss on the topics.
Sounds great. So these are the slides, basically what you have done in Culture Cartel. So when you started Culture Cartel?
2018, we started the first one. And 2019, the video that you just saw was the second one. So we have around 18,000 people that came for last year. The first year, we have around 14,000 that attended.
Wow. From many countries, or mainly from
I would say 80%, 80 to 90% is from a local base, but we have Malaysians, Indonesians, Thai, and all the worldwide artists that came together. So we have a good handful of artists from all over the world.
Yeah, this is really interesting to see how this street culture is evolved in Southeast Asia, because we don't have such kind of street culture concentrated convention or conference like this anywhere in the world. I've never seen this type of event.
Yeah. So we try to be the first.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Yeah, this is a really important part. You're the first one to launch, but this is really interesting for me. Why Southeast Asia is so keen to have this type of event.
I think because the voices of street culture in Asia, you would find it louder in Japan, in Korea, in Hong Kong, or even in China. Southeast Asia is usually much more neglected because we are stronger in other things. We are stronger in travel, we are stronger in finances, stuff like that, or food. But you rarely see street culture events or street culture arts, stuff like that, or artists that's being promoted alongside with the country. Whereas in Japan, you have Japanese artists being promoted alongside, oh, I'm from Japan, I do this. There's so many great artists from Japan and stuff like that. So in Singapore there is, in Indonesia there is, in Southeast Asia there's actually a lot. But the bad thing is that we are not as connected to the world. So imagine an Indonesian artist, he might be doing great things in Indonesia. So in Indonesia, he's a famous star. But once out of Indonesia, nobody really knows him. Because he might not be doing a lot of art shows overseas, or he's not doing the top line collaboration with the big brands. So nobody really speak to them. But if you're an artist in Japan or in Korea, when you do something, the first thing is the brands would like to collaborate, and everything that is fashion that you collaborate with a big artist in Japan, the rest of the world know. In Korea, if you collaborate with a big brand, or maybe not a big brand, but if a big K-pop artist wore your brand, the rest of the world know. So in Singapore or in Southeast Asia, we have big artists that is famous only in their own countries. So that's why a voice within Southeast Asia to connect everybody is much needed. And that's why I'm really, really happy that you guys have managed to link up with us and want us to be on this. And this is what it's all about. Because we want to go out more. We want to reach out more to different parts of the world as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Japanese people would be interested in what you're doing. And we don't have, in my understanding, I've never seen this type of convention in Japan. So obviously you're far ahead of us. So it's going to be great to see this type of event happening in Japan, especially because we have such a huge fashion, huge popularity in fashion,
Yes.
and especially some specific areas like Shibuya or Harajuku in Tokyo. They have so many street culture in Japan, but they're obviously not. We don't have this type of connection in between different street cultures like Culture Cartel does.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting.
So again, if there's a chance, definitely Japan is one of the places that we are keen to showcase as well in near future, maybe 5 years, 3 years down the road. Not so sure, but as of now, within the next 3 to 5 years, our focus is still mostly in Southeast Asia. But doing Greater Asia definitely is something that we're very interested in, especially if you are talking about Japan and street culture. Naturally, when you talk about Asia, street culture, I think Japan is one of the top ranking. Everybody would know because of brands that was created, because of the legacy, and street culture streetwear is such a big thing.
Yeah. So I saw that some of your partners with Culture Cartel were some Japanese companies like Casio. They have Chuck, A6 Tiger.
Yeah.
There are so many Japanese brands actually showcased in Culture Cartel. So how do you make these connections, and how do you work with them?
So basically for G-Shock, we work with them through the Singapore office, and we actually collaborated with them and launched our own G-Shock edition with an artist. So that was the pitch that we actually go ahead with them. And I think it was very aligned with where they wanted to focus as well on the fashion. And because it's a watch, right? It's not only meant for the youngsters, it's meant for everybody. And I think street culture, or what Culture Cartel represent, sits very well with their philosophy of innovation, of being there with what the culture stands for. I think we are very lucky to have them. And for A6 themselves, interestingly, because one of my co-founders, he's actually in the sneaker scene as one of the founding members and very well connected. So for A6 and all, we were quite lucky during 2018 when they came in. We actually had a special collaboration that was sold only in Culture Cartel and was in collaboration with a Singapore artist. So we are quite lucky in that sense, because being a first event or an unknown event, to have big brands supporting us, we are very lucky and we are very honored.
Yeah, that's great. Great connection with already you have with a Japanese company. So and they are working on the street culture. And so you mentioned about some of the street culture, kind of like sometimes people tend to think they're kind of rebellious, or something that bad guys doing or something like that. But actually that's not. It's culture, right?
Yes. So we had this topic, right? We talk about before worldwide internet, before social media, everybody think that BMX, or you're a bad kid. Skateboarding, or you're a bad kid. Because that's what the movie says about us. Says about the sport. It says about what they did when they were young. So it's always like a bad thing in the early 80s and stuff like that, or even late 90s. So everything is bad. And even graffiti, it was illegal, right?
Yeah.
And now graffiti artist, one of the biggest modern contemporary artists, right, around. So it's different.
Yeah. So Banksy is like, for example, his his drawing is illegal, but people takes that art as an art.
Yes, exactly.
So that the perception of people are changing once it's recognized as an art.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting because the world is changing. So what we think wasn't cool back then, and what we know now is very different. So in the past, maybe when you want to send your kids to art school, for example, they will be learning fine drawings of mountains or flowers and stuff like that. But right now, if you go to an art school, they will be showing you paintings of Banksy, talking about what Banksy is doing, talking about what Murakami is doing, But these are all very different now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I think the culture itself is like, how people, take, and that just a perception issue. So anything that, anything can be culture once,
Agree.
Yeah. There's developed community, and the people recognize it as culture.
Yes.
So let's move on to the next topic. So today we would like to discuss about the connection between sports and street culture.
Yes.
So obviously you are interested in fashion, and how traditional sports influence the street culture and fashion. Can you explain a little bit about that?
I think sports and street culture has always been so interconnected. I can start off with just sneakers first, right? Shoes, right? So when Nike first developed the first waffle shoe, the running shoe, it became such a street culture iconic item that people do not use it for only just running, but they actually wear it out as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the olden days, before sneakers and stuff like that, I think everybody was in, leather shoes back then. But with the introduction of sneakers, which was meant back then for running, for exercise and stuff like that, it has totally changed the concept of what is culture and sports fine line. So if you look at basketball shoes, and you think about Jordan, so Jordan is a great example.
Yeah.
Back then, the basketball guys were buying the Jordans, and I'm a BMX. I grew up with BMX, right? I would try to get a pair of Jordan so that I can actually ride in my BMX with the Jordan, right? So it looks cool, it's good, and it's meant for it. But was that shoe really meant for BMX? Not really. But can it do the job? Yes. So there's always this fine line, because BMX is about expressing your style, right? So whether you're dressing it, you're playing the tricks, stuff like that. So it's a very good fine line that there's always a link in between. And if you think about the rest of the items, baseball caps came from baseball, right? The jersey that you see all the brands they are doing, Bathing Ape, Mastermind from Japan, they do all these jerseys. They were meant for baseball players, and now everybody is thinking it as a fashion item. And literally everything that is you can think about it is all connected in fashion somehow with relation to a sport.
Right.
Yeah.
So before we came in this room, we talked about outdoor kit.
Yes.
It can be a great example.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, like for climbers porch, or
Yes.
this is really specifically meant for those climbers to
Yeah.
put some like how to
Put the
say
powder. Yes.
powder, but it's fashion, and that they put that on their hip. And there's a style, outdoor style. People are wearing mountain parker hat, and those you know those mountain style. It's kind
Yes. And Japan is famous, right? You have your hiking style, you have your travel style, you have your outdoor style, you have your surfer style, guys that would dress like surfers. So many. And if you think about it, the professional climbers brands that was meant for altitude, meant for keeping you warm, and then all the fishing jacket and stuff like that, it's all part of fashion.
Yeah,
And they link it up together, and in such a close link that it became, they utilize it. So street culture is about using what is available, right, back then, and putting it into your own style.
Mhm.
And mainstream sports has so many style.
Right.
So inevitably, we actually putting it together and combining it into one big picture. There is street
Yeah.
culture, streetwear, fashion.
Yeah, absolutely right. So yeah, that baseball hat is a great example. Everybody's wearing like
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
a normal like lifestyle, but it came out from traditional sports, baseball. That's really interesting.
yes.
So anything can be fashion, actually.
Anything,
Yeah,
anything. Yes,
the first one who wear that, some specific kid, maybe looks a little bit weird, but
yes,
once it recognized as a fashion, everybody's wearing, and every brand start making these items.
exactly. So even like basketball jerseys, right? All the break dancers like basketball jerseys. You see some of these break dance act, all of them are in these big basketball jerseys and rocking it, and then they dance and they're comfortable with it. But that basketball jersey was meant for basketball players back then, only for professional play.
Right.
But they wearing it have a different expression to it, totally.
Yeah. So they have function in that item, but
Yes.
sometimes it's wasted
Yeah.
just for fashion. But that's important for fashion, I think.
Yeah. It's about expressing yourself, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a really interesting part of connection between sports and street culture.
Yeah.
And another connection between street culture and sports, there are so many street culture sports such as skateboarding, BMX freestyle. These are kind of gained influence and eventually evolved into mainstream sports. Even they becomes Olympic sport.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about this change?
So I think I am super happy as a 80s kid growing up, right? You would see your parents saying that, oh, skateboarding is bad, BMX is bad, surfing is no good, it's all weird sport. You cannot be a professional. But Olympics recognize it, right?
Mhm.
So Olympics recognizing it and making it an official sport means that you can see young kids taking it up professionally and hope to be representing their own country in that sport. Back 10 years ago, 20 years ago, nobody would have thought of it. It's like you will train let me think, you will train your son to be a swimmer,
Mhm.
and you hope that he can be in Olympics and win a gold medal for your own country. And he'll be a hero, right?
Yeah.
But 10, 20 years ago, will you imagine your son is a skateboarder and go and represent your country and get a gold medal?
No.
So
We
this
could.
really changed everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a very happy moment, and it's so much full of freedom that I think that is what Olympics spirit is about. And sportsmen are being recognized for the different hard work they have developed over the years.
Right.
So BMX, I think in time to come, maybe, if you think about skateboarding, they put up so much effort, so much time in doing it. And they spend hours and hours on training it. It's as good as how a professional gymnast will do. It's as much as how much a national swimmer will do. And being recognized as a professional sport, that's something really, really very big. Because we were talking about this in the olden days. Even the movies will say skateboarding is bad. It's like young kids being naughty. They will ride skateboard around. They're running away from the police with the skateboards. You see this thing, and we grew up with that.
Yeah. Stereotype.
Yeah, the typical stereotyping, right? We grew up with that. You'll be the kids in America. They were the skateboarders with the graffiti, right? And they run away from the police. So it's always the bad things. But right now, being in the public domain of Olympic Games, it changes the whole thing. It's no longer a bad sport.
Yeah.
That is huge. That is huge.
Yeah. So now that Tokyo 2020 game is postponed to next year, so we have to wait until next year. But we will see that those skateboarding and BMX freestyle, and also 3x3 basketball, these street culture sport will make a debut in Olympic Games. So how exciting is that?
Yeah. It is so exciting. So we just have to wait for 1 year more to be able to see everything coming alive. And I'm really excited, especially for Japan, where I know there's a lot of talented skateboarders, BMX bike surfers. All the best is there. Definitely, I think we'll fare well. But once we have the first year ongoing, you will see talents from the rest of Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe in Thailand, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, everybody will have a different change of focus and try to make it after the Tokyo 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it changes. It changes the whole mindset. And then the next thing you know, brands will recognize.
Mm-hmm.
Brands will recognize these sports. And these actual sports, they maybe have a professional career.
Mm-hmm.
And they can actually make money, by being a skateboarder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's very different.
So they used to be a bad guy.
Yes.
But now they can be a role model.
Yes, exactly.
Generation.
Correct.
Of course, there's some younger generation. Of course, they are they loved skateboarding, and those street culture. But possibly some parents didn't want their kid doing that. But now, if once it turns into like Olympic sport, the parents can admit that, okay, go ahead, you can win the gold medal at the Olympic Games. So yeah, when it comes like that, all the perception change. That's
Can you imagine in the near future, you can go to school with your skateboard officially? That is something amazing.
Instead of bike, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, and maybe in the physical education class.
Yes, exactly.
Like skateboarding, maybe
surfing. Yes, exactly.
That would be cool.
Yeah, it will be cool.
Yeah. But that can be happen.
They can, and
Yeah.
we are moving towards that already.
Yeah.
So it's very exciting. If you think
Yeah.
about it, it's amazing, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So the future of where all these alternative sports from street culture was, I think within the next 10 years, you will see a huge difference.
Mm.
You will see a huge difference, and you will see worldwide everybody recognizing it. It's you can just imagine Michael Phelps, one of the greatest swimmer, right?
Mhm.
When you go worldwide, people recognize him. You know, he's Michael Phelps, and he's an Olympic hero, right?
Mhm.
Because winning it so many years. So you can just imagine this will be the same thing when there is a skateboarding event in time to come, and this person can be just as big as that.
Right. So actually, I got question.
Ah,
Yeah, which said in Japanese.
okay.
Yeah. Like in the in past, for example, like surfing. Okay. Those new alternative sports which is not educated in the school are kind of like anti main culture or
Yeah.
anti I would say anti main culture, and those type of atmosphere were there, but now that it's selected as an Olympic Games, as it's super happy for those
Yeah.
people. But do you think this is same for younger generation now? Feels same. They are super happy about this sport, street culture sport is selected as an Olympic sport.
Um, I think my personal opinion on this is the people of the last 10 years era would appreciate it a lot. Because if you are bikers 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when these things happen, you appreciate the change. But if you are a young kid now, maybe you are like 13, 14 years old, and you have not picked up the sport of skateboarding, the perception you have now is, wow, it's so cool. I can be a skateboarder professionally and try to go for Olympics. The guys back then was, wow, I was a skateboarder for 10 years. I never thought that you can go to Olympics.
Right.
But it's a very different perception.
Mm.
I think in general, the guys that are in the extreme or alternative street culture sports, they will appreciate this a lot. And for the younger kids that haven't picked up the sport, I'm glad and I'm super happy that we are making it official for them to take it up professionally, and the parents don't have to scold them because it's not relevant.
Yeah. It's not a life skill, maybe.
Yes, it's exactly a life skills.
Yeah.
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 So it's interesting.
But even though before Olympic Games picked up this street culture sport, there was some different stage for those street culture sport like X Games.
Yes.
So what's the difference between this athlete making appearance at X Games and Olympic Games?
I think the key difference with all these different athletes appearing in these alternative games or extreme games, the targeted audience is a fraction of the total community. And it is still with bias lens that we're looking at it. I give you an example. If we talk about racing, F1 is the most famous racing championship there is. But if you think about it, there is so many. There's Daytona, there is the rally in Texas. There's so many. There's so much different racing going around. But F1 that is the most recognized because it's the single most televised across the world. And this appears the same with what Olympic represent. If you are Olympic sports, you are a national worldwide sport. If you are X Games, it's not that you're not good. It's not that it's not recognized. It's recognized, but not worldwide. It's a totally different game. And I think this is where the huge difference is. Of course, that means your audience that is looking at the skateboarders now will have the existing guys that like skateboarding, and you'll be introduced to new people who was watching gymnastics, who was watching swimming, who was watching biking, and looking at it from their lens and changing their minds and gaining their respect. I think that's the huge thing.
That's true, actually. As we have Tokyo 2020 games, so many Japanese people wanted to participate in the games, buying some tickets.
Yeah.
So, people trying to get any tickets. Of course, they choose some sports that they want to watch, but they choose some sports that, they never have experienced or never seen,
Yeah.
or even on TV. But they don't. They just want to experience the Olympic Games, so they buy some tickets in some specific sport. So those skateboarding and BMX freestyle, they are included in that pot. So people who never touched on this sport can experience those sports. So I think that's the point you mentioned, and it's kind of like a serendipity of sport, and which is also reflected in the Culture Cartel, philosophy, that there's many different type of street culture, but you combine together.
Exactly.
So they can connect each other.
Yes.
Right?
So you can just imagine, with relation to what Tokyo 2020 is, there might be a 50-year-old couple, 50, 60-year-old couple that love sports a lot, going into the Tokyo 2020 live scene and seeing skateboarding for the very first time as an official sport. And seeing a person being crowned Olympics medal hanging on them officially, their perception will have changed totally. And they will not think that it's not bad thing anymore, because they were growing up and saying that was a bad thing for the past 40 years, 30 years, right?
Right.
And this will have changed what they know throughout their lives for the past 50, 60 years. How amazing is that?
Yeah. So that's the power of Olympic Games, actually.
Yes.
Change the perception of the sport itself and perception of culture itself. That's going to be interesting. What's going to happen at the Tokyo 2020 Games when people would witness those street culture sport make a debut.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are super exciting.
I'm super excited. So 1 year from now, if we can travel, and if I had the chance, I will try to pop by to 2020 and then be there to witness the first, skateboarding event.
Yeah. But in the meantime, I think we can connect each other, and I'd love to participate in Culture Cartel at some point.
Yes,
if you have any event in Singapore.
Yes.
And
we will have a virtual event soon in December. We have not released the dates yet. Once it's firm, I'll let you know further on the details.
Yeah, and then I can promote that to Japanese people on on our HiVE website or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be great content.
Yes.
So usually it's happening in December.
Yes. So we have run it 2 years already. Actually, this year, without the pandemic happening, it will be in December, physical event as well. But with this current situation, we are trying to do a virtual event, same like what you are doing as well, to keep the momentum going and to connect with the people worldwide as well.
Actually, what is the demographic of the audience participant?
It's actually quite interesting. We have it's quite even between the men and women, aging from, let me think, as young as 14, 15 years old or 13, 14 years old, to as old as 60 plus, 50 plus, 60 years old. So it's a very huge crowd.
Right.
And the interests are very different. So we have office ladies coming in and seeing tattoos for the first time and wanting to get a tattoo.
Oh.
Then we have guys that are full of tattoos going to the tattoo convention, right?
Right.
And seeing an art toy for the first few times and understanding about it and want to buy it.
That's
so it's a very interesting mix, and it creates a lot of spark, a lot of interest. And we have different artists or creatives all over the world coming in together, and they do the talks, they do the panels, they do the workshop, and end up some of them manage to collaborate further to do on next project. So there's a lot of good synergy, a lot of good energy.
Yeah, I would love to experience that.
Yeah.
Next time, and hopefully we can have the physical event sometime soon. Yeah, hopefully next year.
Yes.
So, yeah, when it happens, I would like to visit there, and also when this HiVE is actually happening as a physical event, please come over, and yeah, we'd love to have you, and we'd love to have the Culture Cartel's content in the event. That'd be
we love
great.
to be part of it, and we will get you involved as well.
Yeah.
What HiVE is representing is very aligned with what we want as well. Connecting the world and making the voice bigger than it should be.
Right.
And letting people understand more. I think we share very similar philosophy.
Right. Totally agree.
Yeah.
So let's keep in touch.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So I think it's time. So we are almost there. Only 50 minutes away to 24 hours. So
congratulations and thank you for having us as your last event, last panel of event.
So thank you for joining us. Yeah, talk to you later, and
yes, keep in touch.
Be safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.